All right, 3 yellow springs, and let's get on our Megaformer and perform a 6-minute exercise for your abs, core, and a little bit of legs. We're going to get into a push-up position on top of the handlebars with our hands and our toes hip width apart on the back of the carriage. We're going to get up into that tabletop position and draw the belly button to the spine. And then we're going to breathe in as the shoulders fall back behind the wrist, hinging from the shoulders. And then we're going to exhale as you press down your palms into the handlebars to bring the shoulders forward. We're going to be going as slow as we can, and you want to go at least a 4 count out and a 4 count in. If you start to feel your lower back feel a little discomfort, all you got to do is just not go so far. The feet shoulder width apart or hip width apart will give you a little bit more stability and make it a little easier. But if you'd like to make it harder, you can bring your feet closer together. I'm on 3 yellow springs. It's going to give me a little bit more support pulling the carriage in. And if I wanted to make it harder, I'd go to 2 yellow springs, and the hardest would be 1. We can add in some push-ups here and there. I added it in because I got a little tired and I wanted to keep it going. I always talk about modifications because they're not really because you cannot do something. They're also because when you get tired, you can perform different exercises to continue the workout and keep the heart rate high. In these push-ups, you can see that I'm doing a Spider-Man, bending the knees towards my hands, working the obliques at the same time, and the core, the triceps, the chest, and the arms. Our next exercise is going to be a flying bear. You're going to push out as far as you can where you can control your hips and your core. And then we're going to exhale as you slowly bring your knees forward underneath the hips, keeping the back in a tabletop position. And then breathing in as you lengthen your legs. This is a very difficult exercise, keeping the shoulders as far back as you can, almost like you're flying on a push-up position. If you ever need to make it a little easier, you can go a little bit more forward, bringing the shoulders closer to the wrist. And the reason why we exhale as the knees bend is because it's a little bit more difficult. I went ahead and added in a wheelbarrow to give myself a little bit of a break, and then started doing a little bit of push-ups just to work different muscles and rest the other muscles that I'm currently working. You want to breathe in as you go down slow as you're able to go, and then exhale, pressing through the palms into the handlebars to come up as slow as you can. Breathing in down with gravity and exhaling up against gravity. Then I went ahead and decided to do a single leg bear. So what I'm doing is I'm lifting one leg, and as I push one leg out, my other knee bends forward. Again, this is very difficult, so I would need to take a little bit of breaks here and there. Keeping the shoulders back further away from the wrists will be a lot more difficult, and keeping them more above the wrist will be a little bit easier. In addition to your core and arms working, you're also working your quads mainly for this single leg bear. Triceps and shoulders are working as well. Now I'll be changing it into a reverse wheelbarrow, going down to 1 yellow spring. If you ever needed to modify, you can add a 2nd yellow spring. Also, the way that you hold your hands on the carriage will make it easier or more difficult. Your knees will be together on the front platform. I like my 4 fingers in the pockets with my thumbs on top, ensuring that there's less wrist strain due to less wrinkles around the wrist. We're breathing in as we push the carriage forward and exhaling as we press down our palms into the carriage, bringing the wrists and the hands underneath the shoulders. And again, we're going as slow as we can so we can increase the heart rate, build endurance, and also build strength. As an additional challenge, this is a wheel down. Instead of just going out and in, hinging from the shoulders, we breathe in as we push out. And instead of pushing the palms down, we bend the elbows, drawing the carriage in like a saw, and then performing a push-up. So we're breathing in as the hands go forward, and then keeping the core tight, we pull the carriage in, bringing the wrist in underneath the shoulders, and exhale as we push through our palms to come up. To rest my shoulders and keep it going, I'm going down into a reverse saw, getting off the wrist, giving my wrist a little bit of a break, adding an additional challenge, lifting up one leg as I push the carriage out, and bringing the leg down as I pull the carriage in, interchanging one leg at a time. This is a little bit difficult. You don't want to lift your leg too high because you'll hyperextend your back. You only want to lift enough where you feel comfortable and able to keep your core engaged, making it a lot more difficult on your core because you're balancing on your body in a saw as you lengthen the arms out on an inhale and bending the elbows in on an exhale. With a little bit more energy, I decided to go to the back and we get onto the carriage. And I like to kick off my non dominant leg, the one that I really never use. And I decided to perform a giant reverse bear mixed with a giant reverse kneeling crunch. So this isn't for the faint heart. What we're going to do is we're going to get up onto our hands, holding the ring of fire, up onto our toes, and then bend the knees underneath the hips, and then draw the belly button up, rounding the spine to come forward. You can see that my toes are closer to the middle of the carriage, meaning that it's going to be a little bit heavier, because the further the toes are closer to the front carriage, the more pulling that you're having to do and the more heavier it is. So if you ever want to modify, bring your toes forward.